So, yeah, previously on A Song of Ice and Fire, the Caladan Chronicles. I can't speak English today.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I can't speak any other language, so we're fucked. Yeah, we were at Cider Hall, minus Bree, which proved to be interesting. We mooched about. Nima did some talking to Bravosi people. We did some talking to no one in particular. And then we had a conversation with the lady of the house, who is beautiful, and Alaric flirted a little bit. It was lovely. And then we hooked up a meeting between Lanny and his brother, Halen, who's meant to be at the party. Back at Respite, there was a problem with guards and small folk, like, being killed mysteriously in the woods. So Bree and Rosette decided they're going to check it out. And lo and behold, it was a huge shadow cat. The guard that followed them got brutally murdered. Bree managed to kill the shadow cat with not a great amount of help from Rosette, because she rolled quite terribly. So that was fun. Back at Cider Hall, Alaric had a crazy-ass dream about two dragons and vines and death, and it was really not cool. So he's a little shaken up by that. Desim had some bad oysters, so was out for the count. Lanus had a interesting meeting with his brother, where he basically said, yeah, you shouldn't come home because we're going to murder you. Well, in a matter of sense.
Not necessarily the safest thing.
Yeah, it's not the safest place to be. And so now he wants to bring, like, knights from House Peak to come along and remove Desim from position.
I think it was like 30 knights, which would be like a unit and a half of cavalry.
Yeah.
I mean, more specifically what he said was the fact that to ensure our lands would remain safe and free of banditry was his excuse. But
Yeah. Basically, he's going to remove Desim by force.
if Desim was to resist him coming back.
Yeah.
Because he has a very, very bad opinion of Desim, apparently.
That's very true.
And then like the process would take like several weeks. Gormy the Younger, though, would hopefully arrive at Cider Hall, though, with those knights, and then the escort could begin.
Yeah, when in reality, really, we just want to drag him back and then, like, deal with him ourselves away from Young Peak.
I am curious, though, Halldamir, before we start the session proper, since you've had, like, a week to think about, like with the dream, and how, like, the Anointed Knight feels, like, that particular, like, how does, like, Alaric feel about, like, trying to handle Halen?
You know, he thinks that he should probably keep Lanus away from him.
Okay.
Because White Dragon, Black Dragon, White Dragon ripping the throat out of the Black Dragon, not a cool thing.
Okay.
But Alaric is very shaken by it. I'm still shaken by it. Like, I had actually a nightmare of it, so, yeah.
Like, I know, like, Lanny hasn't, like, revealed, like, the information, like, the other player characters yet, but I was just curious, like, after the week, like, how Alaric might have grown, like, since, like, his nightmare and then the prayer in the chapel.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was my thinking, Jonas, was that Halen might be the Black Dragon, that the White Dragon, being Lanus, rips his fucking throat out. It's not cool. And Alaric's definitely worried. So, he's probably sat in this awful
entertainment room. Is this, like, the most worried that he's been during the campaign?
Probably. Apart from going to war and the Bone Way. Like, the Bone Way was like, this is a legitimate threat to Lanus. This is a legitimate issue in the eyes of the gods.
The Bone Way, when the engineer unit collapsed and Lanus is, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Lanus!
Lanus can't do it. And where this is like, he doesn't really understand. This could just be a message from the gods. That it was so vivid, the most vivid dream he has ever had, and he sees it as definitely being a message.
Has he like
Or is
considered maybe like trying to find like a septon or someone who could like convey or like interpret like the dream for him, like the message from the gods? Or
it's probably crossed his mind, but he's not really thinking about it too much. He's not
okay,
like he's trying to actively push it to the back of his mind. It's been worrying him too much. It's now like I don't know. He sees something that reminds him of it, and he's just like, "Oh no, I can't. No, let's not think about that."
anyway, apologies for interrupting the recap. I could have asked that at any point before this session. It just I was
fine.
curious.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
think the answer is interesting to everyone here.
yeah.
So,
And that was pretty much the end of the recap because Alaric, Manfer, and Nima was stuck in an entertainment show while Lanus was talking to Halen, and Lanus got kicked out, basically.
Lord Fossaway is a little incapable. He
very.
does still have most of his wits about him,
He
perhaps.
dribbles.
There's that, and Lady Nuera, though, does seem to be the authority within Cider Hall.
yes. All right. The entertainment has ended, and you're back in your room. It took all day, really, and it was pretty good. I mean, it was great. It was great. Nima does not return to her room. She will offhandedly mention to Alaric that that if she's ever going to be able to do anything that she was trained to, she needs to have distance to you before she can do it.
Yeah,
Then
that's
she
cool.
will basically leave, presumably even the castle,
Okay.
or the place too. Go disappear before she can return to be hidden, basically. You can freely return to your rooms. I imagine that Lanus would actually get there quite a bit before you others would. Desim today has been feeling absolutely terrible, but it's been getting better, and these things usually don't last too long, sort of mild food poisoning. He'll probably be up and walking and doing well tomorrow. So that's good news.
Linus, after that meeting, then would have most certainly gone back to his room and just spent a bit of time to, well, if he could, just pray a little bit.
Sure. There is the small chapel with the dual shrine to the seven, and then the side-placed one of the flaming heart.
Sure.
Which aspect of the seven does Linus prefer, if one?
Right now, he's not sure. He's looking for guidance, in a sense. He's not entirely sure how to proceed with this.
Guidance about what? Does he have any questions he asks of the gods?
He's both thinking to himself and praying that he might just come up with an idea for trying to, well, get his brother back onto his side, distanced from Peak, trying to bring him back without any kind of conflict.
Uh-huh.
He's seen too much conflict. He's lost too much. He doesn't want to go for all of it again.
Uh-huh. Is he asking for wisdom then, or more for a sense of judgment?
I guess a bit of both.
Right. The father and the crone, respectively.
Mm-hmm. And that he'll do for quite some time. This has been quite the day.
Has Lena's ever been particularly religious?
He's always held religion with him, somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
He's often regularly gone and tried to at least each day have a moment where he at least does a few minutes of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Though most certainly a prayer this long is something which has been a rarity to him. He hasn't done it very much, only when big things happen, such as when Bree disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's never really been taught in the prayers either, so maybe it feels a little bit awkward.
A little
the
bit.
Maester, the Maester Cole has never been a much religious man, and although the Smith has, tried to supply when asked. He has not really been in position to teach the Lord's children when they were young.
No, but as the stories are still told of the Seven, and you can still, even without the proper teachings, he still believes them. He still believes they're watching down.
Yeah. I mean, they are. Obviously.
Of course.
All right. So, will he return to his room where Desim is probably waiting, feeling better, maybe even asking for a cup of tea or some such? All the servants he's really encountered here, except for the stable boy, have been the very incredibly pretty, white-haired Valyrian sort of Lyseni servant girls and boys that he pretty sure they don't really speak his language, which makes it difficult to do much. Is he doing anything particular while he's in his room?
Desim has moved very slowly out of the bed.
You're very quiet, Jonas.
Hello?
Yes, that's better.
Desim will move very slowly around the room, out of bed, moving carefully, leaning on his cane and stuff. He will basically spend a lot of time sitting at one of the tables, looking out, contemplating.
Sure, you can see the tops of the waning sort of browned sort of trees outside the little sort of little city, little castle town.
He will contemplate. He wasn't well enough to attend much of anything, and he is worrying. He is worrying what has become of Lanus and the meeting with the brother. He is. He also heard a lot of tossing about from Sir Alaric before. He doesn't really know what that was about, but he did notice that the night seemed very pale in the morning. Maybe he also ate something. Who can say?
Yeah.
Yes,
food.
Some very mild tea, and maybe some some crackers or something.
They seem to know what's going on, and he doesn't actually have to ask for it. At one point, there's a slight knock on the door, and it's then sort of opened without really waiting for an answer. As to a plate with some sort of what seems to be sort of very dry oat crackers with sort of a thick slice of cheese, and then sort of a very thin, sort of exotically smelling tea.
Yep, he will eat and sip very carefully.
At what point does Lennis return? Does he spend the rest of the day praying, or?
I expect he would have spent at least an hour or two, perhaps.
All right.
Just considering to the gods.
While
He's very conflicted.
their show, they are eventually let go of, where Nima disappears, and Alaric. Manfa has enjoyed it, though he does seem to be in a somber mood as he's still feeling insecure about this whole place. Doesn't feel quite safe with all these foreigners, strangers.
Him and Alaric both.
He will follow Alaric, though, as he does, as his squire.
Alaric will probably just go to his room. Not exactly sure what to do.
Get to the door. See, there's one of the guards standing outside.
Interesting. Alaric will kind of look quizzically at him and just walk in. Is there normally a guard just standing outside?
They've been standing around, though he didn't stand here last time, but who knows?
Well, you can't talk to him, so whatever. Yeah, Alaric will probably relax in the room.
If you enter the room, you see Desim sitting up now at a table, looking out the window. The bare walls being sort of a stark contrast to much of the rest of the keep. At the tapestries have been taken down. Probably not a lot of sound, except maybe the stirring of that sort of a teaspoon against a porcelain cup.
A very thin sound. brittle.
Well, Alaric will smile and look to Desim and say, feeling better?
Kvala will frown at you. Desim will start a little bit, almost as if he was lost in thought. And then he will look over his shoulder at Alaric and nod slowly. Yes, I do feel slightly better. And he nods at Manfer.
Manfer nods back. Moves to take Alaric's heavy sword and such and put it in its place by his bed. His duties. Maybe sharpen it a bit, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, how has the day, or 2 days it's probably been, right? It's easy to lose count when you sort of trails off, looks out again.
Alaric nods. Says, pretty quiet. We had a meeting with the lady of the house.
Desim looks back. Really?
Yeah, very, very attractive young lady. Top 5, Desim. Top 5. Oh.
Desim looks back. He doesn't say anything.
Alaric kind of grins.
I'll take your word for it. Kvala cocks his head. 5!
Hey, he nods at Kavala. He says, yeah, 5. Then closes
He bobs his head, as if he understands.
Closes the door behind him and says, had a strange dream. I'll explain that to you once we have a more alcoholic drinks at a better hour.
I don't think I will be drinking much of anything. Takes a sip of the tea very carefully.
He nods. Says, perhaps when we're at home then. But I haven't seen Lanus in a while. They managed to trap me, Manfer, and Nima in a room with mummers for entertainment, while Lanus was taken presumably to his brother. I have not seen him since. I myself.
Desim sits up a bit straighter. I haven't seen him since.
He nods. Says, but this place is huge and filled with foreigners. I cannot just ask them, and it would take me more than this day just to look around hunting for him. So the best place would be here. And check up on you. Who knows? People might have killed you while I was gone.
Desim just looks at him.
Takes a seat.
It seems like he is on the verge of launching into some sort of protest, but there is some sort of cramp, and he grimaces and grabs at his stomach.
He's taking the time that you are ill to great effect, knowing that you can't chase him out the room. Like waving your cane in the air at him. So he sits down and relaxes a bit. Maybe even takes off his gauntlets. It's rare to see him relax like that. And he'll say, perhaps the boy's a bit shaken. If he's not back in a couple more hours, I'll go look for him. But Nima has gone to get some distance from me. I'm not sure what she meant by that, but whatever job she does, apparently she can't do it right when she's seen by me.
There's some grunts. I'm surprised she was even in the room with the mummers with you.
Yes, they must have tagged her as with us. But
I suppose she was in her courtier's outfit.
Yes.
Yeah, I would explain it. Mumbles also shows that they did indeed go to great lengths to try to trap you, as you said.
He nods. Says, I'm not exactly going to be able to fight my way out of here.
It's true. Those mummers are fierce.
The guards, not so much. Hundreds of them.
What is with those gods? I don't recognize them.
From what I know, they're most likely mercenaries. But who can say? The lady of the house said that they're paid. For all we know, she is from Lies. They do like slaves, after all.
What does Desim know of mercenaries from Lies?
Sure. I believe you have some sort of knowledge you could...
I do have some sort of knowledge. Let me take a look at how much knowledge I have.
Would warfare count for this?
I already know the answers.
Sure, why not?
Yeah? Ah.
Actually, I know everything about them.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, we both arrive at the same conclusion.
We know exactly the same
Well,
amount.
Being educated is easier in a way getting information than just knowing tactics. And it's a little bit different information. Alaric would know that the mercenary or that the soldiers of the free cities generally favor spears and rather than sort of swords as they do here. Generally seen as being maybe a bit cowardly to make such distance between yourself and the enemy. They favor larger shields and generally very ornate but not as effective armor as they use in Westeros. Their soldiers are generally also very much a focus upon discipline rather than honor, something that the Andals also do not particularly prefer.
So hold their ground rather than go for the honorable kills.
Generally, such soldiers are not very well on the battlefield, do not think a whole lot for themselves, but instead have a lot of commanders to constantly give orders. In battle, they generally just have simple tactics, like a phalanx. Desim would know that mercenaries from from Lice specifically, generally aren't actually from Lice. The Lyceni have you could almost call it an unwritten rule that their citizens do not die in war. Their citizens do not serve in the military, and there are not really any Lyceni mercenary companies. The Lyceni who wish to go in such direction instead become pirates. There are quite a lot of Lyceni pirates out there, but they mostly also hire a crew of non-Lyceni people. The Lyceni like prostitution as their main sort of export, really, is bed slaves, and they're generally thought of as being a bit sort of soft. They're not fighters, and they're not strong. They are just thin and frail and beautiful, sort of their main attributes in general. They generally hire mercenaries from the area known as the sort of disputed lands, which is a land between Mir, Tyrosh, and Lice. A big sort of land that's actually much bigger than any of their own land, and that is it's been constantly fought over for a very, very long time. Once the three cities, these three of them, were in something called the Triage, where they had a united council, but it broke. And since then, they haven't agreed on who should have the disputed lands or how it should be parted. There's often peace and then war again, and these mercenary companies generally just live in that area, fighting in that area, switching sides as every time the war brings out again by whoever pays the most. It is a machine where money makes good mercenaries and kills a lot of people, generally. The free cities of the Western Essos also do not spend too much time on slave soldiers because they simply can't be trusted. That is more something of the old Giscari cities of Astapor and such over in the Slaver's Bay. They use slave soldiers a whole lot. Volantes is known to do so, but they also generally prefer to use their land armies of armored elephants.
man. If we had armored elephants.
Damn, Desim, you know so much.
Peak would shit themselves.
Education.
They would. Right, hear me out.
No.
Armored elephants with trained engineers.
Trebuchets on the backs of elephants.
Yes. Scorpions on the sides. It'll be beautiful.
It would be pretty great. We'll see what we can conjure up.
Send the elephants.
How much an elephant can cost. It's like a cavalry unit, right? But with elephants.
Yeah. Right?
Then we use the rules for combining cavalry with siege. There we go.
Siege cavalry. Yes. Because that works.
I don't see why not. Well, was it a good show at least, if you were caught there the entire day? And did the lady of the house say anything? And what is your impression of the lord of the house and their relation?
Alaric kind of looks like blankly, not blankly at the wall, like deep in thought towards the wall, and says, well, the show was pretty good. Typical Westeros style entertainment. The Lord, I would probably say he is borderline incapable. She cleaned some drool from him. Like, he was drooling, and it was kind of gross. But that could either be his age, or perhaps he's perhaps he may be even slightly drugged. I think I heard Leonis saying that they like to use poisons and such. He shrugs. Says, I'm not entirely versed in the topic, but I would say give him another few years and he'll be incapable. She seems to act like he loves him. She says it a lot, like she's trying to reassure herself almost. I could be entirely wrong, and she might be completely genuine.
I somehow doubt that.
Yes.
She is ambitious.
You know, it's just, even when I went to the temple or the chapel, there were little symbols to the fiery heart. A bit troubling.
How so?
Just felt odd in a chapel of the Seven to have a heart on fire around. It's just unsettling to me.
Does some sort of makes a motion with his cane around the room and in everything in general, and says, "It is a strange place, Cider Hall. It is not how it used to be."
Alaric shakes his head. Says, I think I heard Lannis say something about there being an alchemist being one of the really popular dudes in the... he was surrounded, and he was just talking. Couldn't understand a word he was saying. But, from Lannis said that it seemed like he was an alchemist. And that's just strange. This party is odd. The quicker we can leave with Phelan, the better.
Have you seen Helen?
Alaric shakes his head. Can't even remember what the boy looks like. But then, that was years ago now. I'm pretty sure he doesn't look the same now.
There's some stares out again. I remember.
Alaric kind of smirks and says, "Yes, cousin, of course you do."
Quite frowns.
Alaric winks. Alaric leans back on the edge of his bed.
It creaks dangerously.
Yeah. He's spreading out his weight with like his hands on the other side of the bed frame, or like in the middle of the bed frame, spreading out his weight.
Perhaps at this point it is that Linus is back from his prayer.
Very well. Walking down the corridor, presumably past the same guard. And walking into the room. His demeanor, not a nervous one like it was when first coming here, but it's not his prideful one he sometimes has around the keep either. It's just it's a thoughtful one, and one, well, someone who's distant.